Good day.
Hello, YouTube,
Welcome to this
Instagram,
Friday and almost
and
Facebook.
Facebook.
Good
Hello,
day.
y'all.
Welcome back to the Holistic Freedom Secrets podcast.
Yes, indeed, we are on episode 25.
What?
Episode 25, and it's Shine Day. For those of you who don't know, for those of you who are new here, we are Ufulu Child. Ufulu means freedom, and we do this podcast based on a 5-prong healing system that we developed when Coach Tensy's mom was diagnosed with cancer. I'm one of your hosts, Coach Soul. It's my lovely wife, Coach Tensy. And the 5-prong healing system consists of the concepts be, cleanse, fuel, move, and shine. And they coincide with the days of the week. Today is Shine Day, as it is Friday. SHINE is an acronym for sharing honest, insightful, nourishing expressions. Again, sharing honest, insightful, nourishing expressions. That doesn't always mean sharing nice expressions. It doesn't always mean sharing polite expressions, right? But it does mean honest, insightful, and nourishing expressions. And one of the ways that we can discern between when it's time to be nice, when it's time to be polite, and when it's time to be authentic, when it's time to be real, is when people in our lives are going through things that make them want to quit life, things that make them want to leave Earth early by their own doing, right? Hey there, something consulting, IG.
Oh, LGD Consulting.
Oh, is that Lisa?
Yeah.
What up?
Blessings.
When I woke up yesterday, I got news that somebody very close to me in my inner circle almost attempted to leave this place, to leave this realm by their own hand. They did not attempt, they did not go through with an attempt, but they, were sitting in the same place, considering it, looking at um, the method that they were planning on using for like 3 hours, trying to muster up the courage or whatever it's called, muster up the hatred to go through with it. And this was startling, right? This was very startling, as at first you don't know how to react. You're like, okay, so you don't like anything on earth. What do I even say to you? But I did eventually give this person a call, and we talked, and I shared my story as I also dealt with suicidal thoughts, as well as uh, a near suicidal attempt in my own story back in when I was 20, 25, 26 or something like that. And so I shared my story. I shared what happened at the moment that I decided not to do it. Essentially, I had an experience of a voice that was not my own come and say something like, hey, one more day. And amazingly, as my mood wasn't lifted, I wasn't like uplifted out of this moment, but amazingly, I just was like, okay, one more day, sure. And and then by the time some time had passed, and I'd gotten like back home or whatever, or back to Tensy's mom's place, um, I was able to finally like cry and release some of the stuff, and some stuff started to make more sense. Yada yada yada. I got out of the space of today is the day that is going to happen, and I went through some of the things that we're going to talk about in today's episode. So, uh, of course, I shared all of that with the brethren, and it seemed that it was kind of divine that they had a conversation with me yesterday.
Indeed. Something I want to chime in to say I know that every person that I have spoken to that has this big calling on their hearts to change a lot of lives or to help people in a very deep and profound way, everyone without exception has had to go through some sort of trial and tribulation and experience it themselves in order to see that you can come up out of that. You can hit the reset button. I feel like everyone that's sought to be a healer in some form or fashion has experienced some sort of dark night of the soul, as they put it, a walk through darkness, and having to come up against all of the childhood, all of the adolescent, all of the adult traumas that were endured and find a reconciliation, a harmony within, working with, dancing with the darkness within. So this is an important episode because when it comes to sharing, honestly, it's hard to do when you're met up against these times in life.
Yeah.
So that's why we're talking about
and
this today.
and you know, before we get into what to do, shine is not a concept that only goes outward, right? When you think of physical objects that shine like stars, their shining doesn't come inward, but your shine as a conscious being goes both inward and outward. So you shine outwardly, and both karmically as well as intentionally, there tends to be some shine that goes inwardly simultaneously as well as afterwards. So, so as we shine on this topic, let's talk about what to do. First thing that must be done, and that if avoided, the rest of this would not really help at all, is acknowledging the seriousness. Okay, acknowledging the seriousness. Suicidal thoughts are being believed in. When a self-loathing or a hatred for the world, even if it's not a hatred for yourself, um, a fear of yourself or a fear of the world becomes so profound that you want to call it quits on this experience. When community building stops, you have to acknowledge the seriousness of the experience, right? Just like you would acknowledge the seriousness of an experience where an accidental leaving of this place, you're on a roller coaster and the seatbelt doesn't work. You would acknowledge the seriousness of said occurrence, okay, and that circumstance, or your
or a diagnosis.
Thank you. A diagnosis in the body, you would acknowledge the seriousness. So acknowledging the seriousness of mental decline, mental health decline, heart health decline, spiritual heart health decline is first thing. Okay, and it doesn't mean that you go around telling everybody in the whole world everything about yourself. Privacy is still key to a degree, but you have to reach out and you have to tell, the necessary people, and that'll be different for everybody. So I'm not going to say 3 or 4 people, because for some people it will be more like maybe 6 to 8 people or something like that, or 1 or 2. But you have to reach out. You got to acknowledge the seriousness by being honest with those around you that can lend a helping hand or a supportive hand. Second thing is, when you reach out, you have to do so with a degree of emphasis on the seriousness. You have to be honest with them, right? So first you have to be honest with yourself about the seriousness of it. And then when you reach out, you have to discuss these issues openly and honestly. This is all a part of part 1 of what to do when, either you find yourself or you find that you're getting ready to help somebody through a period like this. Did you want to add anything to number 1?
Yeah, it's like the one of the first stages of grief is denial, and this is um, alignment with the rejection of truth. And the rejection of truth, you can never find freedom there. So that's why we can never stay in denial. But we have to acknowledge that, yo, man, it's been piling up layer after layer for a while right now, right? Or maybe just hit you all of a sudden. But low key, a lot of things tend to be a buildup, and the the choice to acknowledge the truth behind everything that's going on, it may be seem like a big task because it is, um, but it's necessary. And that introspection, starting to identify the difference between the voice that will um, persuade you that you are not worthy, that you have anything less than infinite potential
Hmm.
and worth within you,
And freedom.
and freedom to do and to be,
Yeah.
is a liar. So I know that sounds super cliche, but it really is true. It's You have to discern the difference between that voice, because that's just out of habit, whether it's a picked up habit from somewhere in your environment. There's so much frequency, is so much that what we listen to on the radio, what we watch on TV,
Hmm.
what we hear or read in the articles and the news, it all
What we talk about with
what we
friends,
talk about with friends,
what we allow friends to talk about around us all the time.
yes, it builds up, and our subconscious is picking it all up. So that brings back through the mind. Know the difference.
Yeah. And know the difference between yourself and, your mind or these thoughts. So first of all, hold on, we might
No,
have,
you're good. You're good. Keep
check the
going.
live real quick. Boom. Um, what are these ideations? Well, they're thoughts. And there's a profound out for available to everybody when it comes to being attacked by your own thoughts. And that is knowing the difference between yourself and your mind. Of course, if this is your first time hearing words like this, then that might come off as a little hard to follow, knowing the difference between yourself and your mind, especially when you use the word knowing and then you say something different between your mind and yourself. But there is a profound difference and a vast difference between the two. Yourself at the core does not have desires, aims, or hold traumas, right? Does not have pain points or um, how to say, like a boundary of consciousness. Yourself is more akin to, it's not this exactly, but it's more akin to your potential, okay, than like your past and present. It's more akin to your potential. So when thoughts are coming in, thoughts, images, thoughts, movies, thoughts, words, thoughts, voices, however the form of thoughts are, thoughts that come with feelings, right? Whatever it is, whatever activity is happening within the mind and within like the mind that you can feel within your body as well, all of that happens and you can see it from the place of yourself. You can witness what's going on inside from the place that is not going on, okay, and from a place of stillness. And you don't have to practice stillness to get there. You can see when thoughts are happening. Hopefully you're thinking as I'm speaking right now. When thoughts are happening, you can see and you are witnessing those thoughts happening and those feelings corresponding with those thoughts from a place that is not in the thoughts or in the feelings. And this is the first step of knowing the difference between yourself and your thoughts. And so when you can detach and refuse to identify
Mm.
with suicidal thoughts, with thoughts that are self-loathing or world-loathing or world-fearing, to such a degree that you want to leave this place. When you detach from those thoughts and you say, well, that thought occurred in me, but that thought is not me. It does not define who I am and does not define how I have to be in this moment. Then you're taking a huge step away from actually carrying out the thoughts.
Yeah. And there's this lie that we're sold that um that no one explicitly says if you feel anything bad, you're bad for feeling that. But that's something that subconsciously I picked up somewhere
No, a
along the
lot of
path.
people, yeah, a lot of people think that.
And many people that I talk to also have that kind of underlying theme to where push away, push away. Let me meditate this away. Let me dance this away. Let me connect with a friend so I don't have to feel this. Let me, and all these things are phenomenal tools in a wellness toolkit, but it's the so that I don't have to feel this because it's bad and because there's this fear of the emotion itself when the emotion itself is innocent. It's the story that we attach to it, to the emotion, to the experience that is causing all the suffering.
Yes.
So and this feels like a beat episode, like we're getting into mindset, we're getting into thoughts, we're getting into things, but this is just how connected all of the Freedom Five is, because this piece is vital. In order to share, there has to be this balancing point of acknowledging everything that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And I want to acknowledge a comment before we move forward.
Yeah, Lisa says, this is profound. Glad you were there. I'm also glad I was there and I am here. And that I didn't carry it out, the thoughts when I was 25.
Yeah.
Same. Another thing we have to understand is the triggers, right? Because a lot of times they come late. So the thoughts come way later than some of the root causes. Sometimes the root causes have to deal with abandonment issues, parental confusion in childhood, these things that take a long time to actually build up and mean much in our lives. This, how to put it, our ties to identifying with not being worthy of life, not being grateful for the gift of life, not finding purpose in or meaning in life, all of these our ties to these patterns of thought usually stem from long experienced traumas that are not blunt traumas, right? And then they are triggered. So they're developed that way. And then they're triggered by blunt traumas to either the body or the heart or the mind, like a breakup, right? That you really felt like it was forever with this person, and then suddenly, you go to sleep in that bed and they're just not there. That can trigger all of these things that developed over a long periods of time during your formative years, during your adolescent years, your preteen years, teenage years. These things where your brain was still developing and your brain was still locking in what your eventual, and I say locking in, of course, there's always a path to freedom, but the older you get, the harder it is to change your mind by way of biology. But
before we move on, talking about triggers, sometimes it's triggered by lack of sleep, sleep deprivation. Sometimes it's triggered by malnutrition. So, literally speaking, they're adding chemicals into our foods that are approved by these agencies that are actually causing a lot of imbalances, not only in our hormones, which affect our emotions, but throughout our body, in our brains, etc. Yada yada yada. and it builds up over time. So that's also a factor. And even if you're dehydrated perpetually again and again and again, the DNA is unwinding, it's damaged with that happening again and again and again. So all of this takes its toll and adds up. All these little things from the different aspects of the Freedom Five will eventually, it gets to weigh us down to where the next time we experience something that's mild, it could be mildly or moderately stressful, it's like a brick walled and hit you across the face. And it's harder to cope with those sort of triggers too.
Right. It's harder to not feel like this is forever.
Mm.
Right? Because when we go so far in the negativity, it's usually also because we feel like this won't go away. I will never evolve past this. I will not move through this. This is just my life now, and this will never go away. And this sucks that it's like this. So I don't like it, and I don't want it, and I want to get away from it. The only way I know how is to do those things, right? Follow through with those thoughts, those ideations. And so that misunderstanding of how this 3D realm works is very prevalent. And I would say also normalized, you know, by by
Everything.
everything. Yeah, the way that
Everything.
what I want to say, it would be like 6 episodes of explaining if I were to just
All
make
the
the claim.
layers of the
So I'm
world.
gonna calm down my speaking, like how I want to speak, for a little bit, because we don't have time to go into exactly how all of this plays into the systems and the machine that is over our lives right now. But normalized by how society works in general, I'll say that, is this feeling that this is my life now, this is forever. Okay. And
Mm.
knowledge, not hard to come by, but easy to be distracted from. Knowledge of self is the way out of that. Because when you know that now is the only moment that ever is, when you know, and I don't mean when you think this, I mean when you know this, meaning it's experiential knowledge for you. You can detach from the idea that there's something other than the now moment. And this something other than the now moment can actually like grasp your life and hold on to it perpetually for the rest of your life. It can never happen, will never happen, but we can convince ourselves that it has happened and that it sucks. So knowing that now is all there is gives you space to identify more so, again, with that stillness that is more akin to your potential, more akin to pure like awareness, observation, more akin to
Clean slate.
spaciousness and peace than akin to that which is bound and that which is constricted and that which is in pain. Because how you identify in the moment, especially when it comes to mental awareness and mental health, is key, is king even. So
Mhm.
definitely want to highlight that. And when helping somebody, when talking with somebody, when somebody is leaning on you with this very heavy information, speaking to them in a way that they don't have to identify
Mhm.
with the one that's in pain, the one that's constricted, the one that can't get out, also is, I would say, some advice that I would have.
Mhm.
Go ahead. Well, beforehand, the little disclaimer: I'm not a mental health professional. Consult with your mental health professionals for the disclaimer for Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah,
And
we're not doctors.
not
Intentionally
doctors.
so.
Yeah. .com.
um, yeah, that there's a truth that is taught in more so the fields of um, quantum physics, and when they look at the it's called like a torus, but it's really like looking at how energy flows through the body, because everyone's body has both electronic and magnetic. So, like the coming out and the coming in, the masculine and the feminine, every living thing, everything has that. And there's this infinite outpouring and inpouring that's happening constantly, and it goes out and extends out into infinity. It's been proven that, I mean, people can see auras and whatever. They can see the energetic patterning of all things now, and they have been able to for decades, and with certain technologies. And so, just remembering that on a scientific level, as well as it has been proven for the past several decades, but not talked about, we are all a part of the same one energetic essence, the same one source. Kind of like the cells that make up your skin, that is on your hand, that are part of your hand.
Those cells are individual bodies.
Yeah.
Yet there's one you.
Yeah.
There's one skin.
So the things that we feel like, oh, I can never reach that person, is already the illusion that we've been sold of being separate. It's already a lie. And I know sometimes it's hard to wrap the mind around it, but the more that you do your own research and cultivate understanding to combat any confusions that come up within the mind in any area of life, you'll see with more clarity, and you'll have a deeper foundation. That's why it's so important to know why. It's so important to know why we do things, why we have these thoughts, why are we connected, how are, and I feel like that's an anchor point that allows for us to then go deeper into, okay, this is the root cause. Now I'm coming from a space of, I'm not just believing this to be so blindly, or because I was told that it is so, but now I can see some research for myself, or I can back this up. It's anchoring in my spirit and my understanding. So then you begin to apply the wisdom. You can begin to apply the wisdom.
Absolutely. And the last thing that we want to get into also is building community in hard times. Okay, so firstly, got to understand the importance of community. What is community? Community is the coming together of minds for a purpose or multiple purposes. The experience of multiple people, multiple personalities, multiple, pieces of consciousness, multiple pieces of individuated oneness, coming together and putting their minds and hearts together to achieve and or journey to a specific end or a specific means. Community is very important because community means connection.
Yeah. And healthy community means meaningful connection.
We are one. Yep. So there are different ways to build community. Of course, the most popular one of today is to find a community online that you really resonate with. I highly recommend that. Go to a community that resonates with you in terms of the purpose that you're serving right now, the higher purposes, not only in terms of your job that you do to sustain yourself, unless that's your purpose, in which case then I wasn't talking to you, because most of us have to do things outside of our purpose for financial means. But find a community, whether it's online or a support group of some kind or a project that you can join, with volunteers and or get paid for it, where you're embracing your passions and you're embracing your love for some skill or some development of my brother's here. Hello, brother.
Good day, love.
And Lisa says, we are one. Good reminder. Absolutely.
Mhm.
But joining and building community is so important for those that are dealing with and have dealt with, again, suicidal thoughts, hatred for the world, and, trauma-based confusion. These things, they don't seem to like wither away with community, but they do seem to get better the more you are around like-hearted individuals.
And they literally do, because literally these bonds that you make with people through meaningful connections, and whether you're sharing emotional support or resources or a good laugh or something, just some sort of meaningful connection where you feel that that sense of bonding
Mm-hmm.
is it literally regulates all of the hormones cascading through the body. So there's a hormonal hierarchy. Stress is triggered by, and it's regulated or dysregulated by cortisol, which is basically when you're in stress, that's the one that peaks up, and that's the one that tends, when it goes too far, everything goes left.
Yeah, cortisol is a hormone.
Yeah, it's a hormone. And the one that regulates that, the only main one that regulates cortisol is oxytocin, which is, it comes when you have community, when you have laughter, when you have moments of like feeling connected. Yeah, like
passion.
Yes, and even cuddles or
romance. Yeah,
or
absolutely.
Or just meditation. It doesn't have to necessarily do with someone else, but it's, you're feeling connected, whether it's with your spirit or with another person or a pet or whatever.
Or with the community.
Or with the community.
Another way, if you're not too comfortable jumping into a community, especially a physical community, if you have a favorite bar, if you have a favorite restaurant, if you have a favorite, place where you go,
Park.
and well, let me say this, because park wouldn't fit into what I'm getting ready to say.
Okay.
Pardon. But a bar, restaurant, somewhere where you go and the same or similar, people you see every time you go there. And like they have, some sort of financial obligation to interact with you. So you see the same waitress, you see the same bartender, you see the same staff member of some kind. Build community with them. Just start to, after a couple times of meeting them and feeling that you'd feel comfortable talking with them. If you're already comfortable with somebody because you're always at this place, then then build community there. Also, I want to highlight this comment here. People, hold on, let's check the live. Good. Okay, cool. People want to be where everybody knows your name. Yeah.
Like the Cheers show theme song.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with building community without, at first, without having any sort of purpose that you're heading towards with this person, except for building community. Building community with this person or building community with these people. That could be enough of a purpose for building community, especially if you're doing so because you're reaching out, acknowledging the seriousness of a mental health issue that you're struggling with or going through, pardon me, and you're trying to build community. Then building community of where you always already show up and where you like to be already is definitely a strategy you can implement.
Absolutely. Something to take this up a notch, because holistic health freedom is, try and think of a place that you go that also supports your health goals, right? That wouldn't sabotage it. So say if you have the goal of stopping drinking, you might not necessarily build community at the bar. Mm-hmm. But if you have the goal of eating healthier. Maybe the next time you go to the grocery store, you talk to the cashier that, or this person stocking, or
I'm friends with a few cashiers at the
that's very
Sprouts.
true. But or the library or the bookstore or the park, just getting creative about like, where do you go? Do you go to the open mic night? I don't know, like stuff related to your interests.
Yeah.
And that's also would be a support, whether directly or indirectly, of your overall goals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully this episode was, good and necessary for you to be here. Please, for us, follow, subscribe, like, comment, notify yourself for the next time that we're going live, and share
Yeah.
this out. Share this episode out. Send it to a bunch of people. Hit the share button right now while we're talking, and tell the algorithm that you like this content, that you think other people would like this content, that you think this content is necessary for the interwebs, and people should be able to find it more easily.
That helps us so much. You don't even understand. And we appreciate you so much. Yes. Please put in the comments as well.
Mhm.
If you've ever experienced, because I don't know a soul who hasn't low key experienced like despair or sadness
Mhm.
or what we're talking about, going through darkness in this life, while trying to still build community. Share a tip or an experience that you've had to where you were faced with overcoming some despair, and actually make some meaningful connections in order to come up out of that. So, if that makes sense, hopefully how I put that wasn't complicated, but
Share in the comments.
share.
Anything that resonated with moments in your own life.
Yeah, that part.
All right, and we'll see you guys on Monday, same place, same time.
We'll be diving into B, in the Freedom 5. Today was Shine Day. And take good care. We love y'all. Have a good weekend. Okay. Very good. All the things.